KSQD Santa Cruz 90.7 FM, KSQT Prunedale 89.7 FM, and Translator K20HGE Monterey 89.5 FM.
KSQD thanks Edible Monterey Bay Magazine for supporting this program. Edible Monterey Bay Magazine delivers the story on local food and drink across the region through its quarterly magazine and weekly newsletter. The fall issue is available now. Readers can sign up for the weekly newsletter at ediblemontereybay.com.
The views and opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily represent those of Natural Bridges Media or KSQD's staff, volunteers, or underwriters.
And when you hear that theme music, that means it's time for Talk of the Bay, K-Squid's evening talk show with local issues and things that affect our lives right here on the Central Coast. I'm your host, Rachel Ann Goodman, and my guest for the first half of the program is Terrence Concannon. He is the relatively new director of Visit Santa Cruz County, the used to be called the Tourism Bureau, right?
That's right.
Well, welcome to the show, and this is your first time at K-Squid, so welcome to K-Squid.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm honored that you asked me to come and talk about tourism, my favorite subject in all the world.
And you moved here from a different place, right?
I moved here from a much different place. I moved here from the hottest place in America, Lake Havasu City, Arizona.
Oh my, it must be a real breath of fresh air.
It really is a breath of fresh air in many ways. 2 summers ago, we had 51 straight days of 115 degrees or higher, so it's a pleasure in that way. But moving here, it's also Santa Cruz County reflects my personal values a lot better than Lake Havasu City did. So
I feel I was just doing phone banking actually and talked to a lot of residents of the state of Arizona and was kind of taken aback by some of their responses to my very friendly phone call. But that's an aside. So Santa Cruz County has long, and I'm talking about long, been a tourist destination. Probably even historically, there were tribes that came here from other parts of California to enjoy, the rich abundance of sea life and possibly trade. But in our modern existence, since Santa Cruz County has been a county, people have been coming here from everywhere because of its beauty.
That's right.
Any fun memories or like little historical tidbits you can think of that you've learned since you've been here?
Absolutely. And when I interviewed for the job about a year ago, this came up. So there's two things that make me very close to Santa Cruz County and Santa Cruz, the city of Santa Cruz in particular. So many years ago, I heard a band on the radio down in Los Angeles with a friend of mine called Camper Van Beethoven.
Oh, yeah.
And I was forever and still am one of their biggest fans and have been to 50, 60, 70 shows by them. And but another thing was, so we used to come up here and see their shows because we couldn't always see them in Los Angeles. But Santa Cruz is also the first place where I failed at surfing.
A lot of people have found that to be the case.
I tried it two other times and then I gave it up because the third time was in San Diego. I don't even remember the day. My head hit the board, hit the sand, something, but
knocked that memory out of your brain.
It was time for me to stop.
Well, it's one of the things that draws people here, but like you and me, not everybody can surf. So there's so many things people do. A lot of it involves the beach. Mm-hmm. When you look at pictures over the years, you see a million of those beach umbrellas at the Santa Cruz main beach. But you also see people hiking in the redwoods and doing other things, and they need somewhere to stay. And often we see these giant hordes of cars coming over 17 and leaving. So that tells us something. And a long time ago, I interviewed someone in the transportation department who said 150,000 trips over a weekend. I was like, wow. That floored me. I couldn't even imagine that. So people are coming and they're spending money, and it's 1/3 of our economy in this county. One-third. The other two are education and agriculture, I believe, and I don't know in what order. I should have looked that up.
I believe agriculture and then education.
So tourism, without it, if it evaporated, which it almost did during COVID.
It did.
It was devastating. And so part of the reason I called you here to talk to our listeners is to give us a little bit of information about how it's doing post-COVID. And, not just in terms of occupancy, we can talk about that, but also the important role that the hotels played in giving people places to live temporarily when they were needing to shelter in place, when we thought we didn't really know how it spread and everybody hunkered down, some of them in hotels.
Right. Yeah. Hotels, you know, excuse me, people think of hotels as simply a place where we can enjoy our time when we're out on vacation and, you know, a place to sleep and to rest and rejuvenate. But hotels play such a large part in recovery efforts. You know, just in last year when, before I arrived, when we had all of those natural disasters, so many hotels stepped up to house temporary workers, to house those that had become displaced by the flood, so by the floods and the fires. So hotels and lodging establishments and a lot of visitor-facing tourism businesses really respond to the needs of the residents. And I'm here to tell you that as the CEO of Visit Santa Cruz County, and my entire staff knows this, our number one customer is not the people that we attract to come to this. It's the people that live in this county, because we need to keep tourism sustainable. In my previous location in Lake Havasu City, our lockdown was only about 6 weeks in Arizona. And so at that 6-week period, every person in Orange County, it seemed like, came over to Lake Havasu, and the tourism was absolutely unsustainable. People, senior citizens, couldn't get to the drugstore to get their medicines and stuff like that. And my organization and the city council had to hear about it, and of course we did. But here, there's a more caring environment, and taking care of your brothers and your sisters. And so hotels really step up when that need arises, and they're really good community partners.
Who are the owners of hotels? If you could take a snapshot of the people owning them, are they small family businesses? Are they chains? Are they franchises mostly, or a mixture of all of the above?
It's a mixture of all of the above. But in Santa Cruz County, we do have a lot of independent owners, and that's a very good thing. Branded hotels are wonderful. You know what you're going to get at a Marriott or a La Quinta or a Holiday Inn. And some of those, some of those are franchised and locally owned. But I think the vast majority of our hotels are owned independently and owned, if not locally, then regionally. So that's a really good thing to have.
I imagine, in addition to just the challenges of getting people to come back and spend money on recreation after, you know, the recession that the pandemic later created, there's also this rebound of the people who worked there. So tell me a little bit about the workforce. We talked about the owners and a little bit about them. What do we know about the workers? I know it's not a very high-paying job.
No, but today I just had a meeting with. We have a research firm that we use at Visit Santa Cruz County called Oxford Economics, and they provide me and my staff with all kinds of data as regards hotel performances. The stuff we do online, you know, to advertise, like Facebook and our website. But they also let us know what our workforce is looking like. And I was really stoked to see that not only, you mentioned earlier about previous with the pandemic, so this summer was the first summer since the pandemic where our hotels this was a really, really, really good summer for us. And the hotels are stoked to have that revenue coming in and all the people coming in. And we have actually exceeded 2019 numbers, which, as you know, has become the benchmark for just about everything in the hospitality industry now. But at the same time, we're seeing jobs come back. Not all jobs are filled, but in the month of August alone, we had an increase of 1.3% jobs year over year for a total of about almost 16,000 jobs in the hospitality and tourism sector. And still have 609 openings, but that's so down, decreased from such a long time ago. So we're really on a good trajectory.
Do those jobs include people who work at the boardwalk and the Roaring Camp Railroads and every tourism outlet in the county? Not
just hotels, but attractions and parks and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's all across the board.
Right, and the state parks are included in that.
I believe they are. I believe they are.
I know they're a big draw for tourists.
Boy,
Without them,
right.
We probably wouldn't have near the wonderful numbers of people.
Don't we have more state parks in this county than any county in the state?
We have a lot of public lands.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, and it's wonderful for sure. And some of them haven't even been open to the public yet. The Tony Dairies monument isn't even
Right.
open, doesn't have trails you can go on. I imagine when that opens, more people will be out hiking and mountain biking and things like that.
Well, and you mentioned earlier about how many people come here. And, for me, as someone who moved here about a year ago and used to come here for vacation, this to me represents, in our tiny little county, almost except for deserts, and I'll bet I can find some of that in some of the dunes in Pajaro, it represents everything you could ever want in the state of California, from mountains, redwoods, coastal. So we have, at Visit Santa Cruz County, we have 4 marketing pillars: agriculture, arts and culture, redwoods, and coastal. And those really encompass, I think, what people find in our counties. And we're not like any other county. We do have similarities, but what other county has a fabulous amusement park right on the water? And
This is
all
true.
these wonderful things that we have. So.
Things that are pretty different.
Yes.
You could go to some of these other amusement parks, but they'd be in very hot parts of the state.
That's right.
Without a beach right in front
There's
of
a
them.
reason there's no amusement parks in Bakersfield.
That's probably true, except maybe a water park if they're happy
Yes.
and lucky about that. If you just joined me here on Talk of the Bay, I'm Rachel Ann Goodman. I'm speaking with Terrence Concanon, who is the Executive Director of Visit Santa Cruz County, which used to be called the Tourism Bureau, but they basically support and market us as a county to the rest of the world.
The world.
What do we know about who's visiting us? Is it mostly people within, driving distance, or people fly to California just to come here?
They do. The
what we
vast
know?
majority come from the state of California, which I'm sure doesn't surprise any of our listeners. But we have a very robust international campaign, and right now we're doing a fall advertising campaign. And that campaign not only is we advertise the entire state of California except for Santa Cruz, but we also advertise in areas like Washington, D.C., in Chicago, in Phoenix, in Seattle, and Portland, because these are the places we found through our research that have a real desire to come and visit either Santa Cruz itself or what we have to offer within Santa Cruz. But at the same time, I've got staff members, Flavia and Christina, who are later on this year going to China, and Flavia basically goes all over the world to tell the world about what an amazing destination this place is. And, I'm sure that that people all over the world do have a very iconic view of California. I grew up in Seattle myself, and it was all I thought about all year long was my vacation to California every summer. And to this day, I still feel that same level of love for California. And I've been to trade shows my entire career, and when you mention California, people's eyes just light up and they get that wistful feeling like, tell me more about California, because they still love the whole Beach Boys coastal surfing vibe and redwoods and everything. All of our agriculture, it's just an amazing feeling to sell this place.
It's funny when you talk about that. It sells itself, and sometimes people feel inundated by that. But we'll get to that in a moment. A funny story: when I was homesick and living in Kentucky, ads would come on for cars, and they would always be filmed here
That's
or in
right.
Big Sur. And boy, did that make me homesick, because
Yes.
I'm a California girl all the way. So Santa Cruz is iconic. We were in Yosemite recently. Lots of people from all over the world visit there, and I imagine it, similar. And like you said, you're courting people from China. Does it ever feel sometimes in the middle of summer that the town is just overwhelmed and we can't take it anymore? It's just to the gills. Maybe the locals have, that view,
Right.
the love-hate relationship with tourists, especially when they have to do the coastal cleanup on the 21st.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. So are there efforts to educate visitors about our pristine environment so they don't trash it?
Well, yes, not so much Visit Santa Cruz County, but I myself have worked with other organizations to get the word out and to distribute materials to hotels and other visitor-facing organizations so that they can get the word out that please come to Santa Cruz County, but treat it as though it was your home. Or unless you trash your home, and then don't treat it that way.
Right.
But that's the. I feel that the tourism superstructure within our county really maintains a good sustainability for tourism, but at the same time, tourists and residents alike, and our unhoused population, sometimes just doesn't feel the need to clean up after themselves. And that's something that is very, very important. And I'm sure it's something that we really have to get on top of, or it's going to inundate us.
I remember, growing up in a time when there was a really solid anti-littering campaign, and it was just pounded into our heads. Driving along California's highways lately has been horrifying to me because there's so much takeout garbage just tossed out of windows. So it's almost like we need to do that education all over for many generations that it might have missed.
Well, I live in a condo just south of here on River, and whenever I have the opportunity, I walk all the time because it's so wonderful to be able to walk in downtown Santa Cruz. And I see trash laying, and for my part, I clean up in front of my condo. If everyone could just clean up their little spot, we would be so much better.
Yes,
even
indeed.
if they didn't leave the trash there, just go ahead and pick it up.
Yeah, do it anyway.
Yep.
So what is our occupancy like now, or what was it like? I think maybe you mentioned it earlier, but I might have missed it. Like, you guys gauge the success of, the summer's tourism partly by how many rooms were filled, right?
We do.
So how did that look as compared to past years?
Well, hotel demand was way up. The rates went down a little bit, and that's part of the reason why the occupancy was up. But the demand was up like almost 3% year over year, which doesn't sound like much, but it's a lot. So for the month, and right now I'm giving you a figure for the month of August. 80% occupancy for the hotels. At the same time, our ADR was around $227 per hotel room, and which leading to a RevPAR, which revenue per available room for those. In the hotel industry, we have so many
acronyms.
Right. I just run them off and I forget the.
Thank you for stopping yourself there.
You
I
bet.
Wouldn't.
But so our RevPAR, meaning revenue per available room, finishing it at $180, which is really, really good. And let me see, Santa Cruz County hotels collected just shy of $25 million in room revenue in July.
And a lot of that money stays here if they're locally owned, right?
That's correct.
Goes to local people. I did have a question about short-term rentals, which is always a mixed bag for people who live near them. We're talking Airbnb here. I was surprised to know that the county didn't really regulate outside of the city or collect some of the tax. They collect one, but not the other. Do you guys get involved at all with, giving input on any of these regulations? I understand that Supervisors Manu Koenig and Justin Cummings are going to take another look at the short-term rental ordinances, and they're going to be cracking down on unpermitted locations because some of their constituents are upset about the partying next door and about it takes it out of rental for actually everyday people. That's the biggest complaint is that you can make more money on Airbnb. Why should you rent long term? Well, because you'd know your neighbors and they would have a place to live and they could work in the hotel industry and not have to commute, from Tracy or something. So do you guys ever weigh in on?
Anytime the county board of supervisors or any city council asks for our advice, I'm there to give my advice.
Was this an issue back when you lived in Arizona too?
Oh, was this ever an issue? We had probably 1,800 unregulated short-term vacation rentals. And what you have when you have that is you don't have a neighborhood. You have a street with 12 different houses, and if six or eight of those houses are short-term vacation rentals with people coming in for a week or 2 weeks and just partying and leaving, what you've got is 4 houses that are trying to make a neighborhood. And that's the issue that I have for short-term rentals. What we have here, though, is we have a situation in Arizona. It was people owning homes, never being there, and renting them out week after week. Here we have people who have short-term vacation rentals, but these are also people that may live in Modesto and own that house and want to come out here for the summer or some other time. So, and the rest of the time they want to rent the house to defray the costs. So I think it's going to be a real tough slog for the county to make this happen. I think what we need to do is make sure that those that have short-term vacation rentals, that they're very conscious of the impact that they're renting out their house has. It's not good when you have a house that has 3 bedrooms and you allow 12 people, to stay in that house for a week or 2 weeks. It's just going to degrade the quality of the neighborhood. So I think the best thing for us to do is to work with short-term vacation rental homeowners and let them know that there are certain regulations and certain ways that you have to behave and act and run this business, and do it that way. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the county's resolution. It's going to be hard.
Yeah, it's really hard to regulate anything, especially things that are happening outside of the traditional avenues. They're so-called disruptors.
Right.
Did you guys weigh in on the LICA ordinance that was being considered, allowing people to do hip camp kind of Airbnb on their land with camping?
We did not weigh in on that. But
I know it got defeated on the
yes.
state and local level, so that's out. I don't know if it'll come back. But, locals in my community up in the mountains were really concerned that people would be accidentally starting fires because it didn't require the landowner to be on site when
right.
people were camping there.
Right.
And to me, I love camping. I'm
That's
so
a recipe
into
for
it.
disaster, though, when you have
But you really don't want people who've never lit a campfire, just to be there without any
absolutely.
supervision or firefighting ability. So it scared me as someone living potentially near
I
one.
still have a condo in Lake Havasu City. I'm not doing short-term vacation rentals. I'm doing long-term rentals because I want to know that there's somebody in there and that my money's going to be coming in and that they're going to be taking care of it because they're going to be living in there for a long time. So.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I know for small areas like Big Sur, even bigger. So we're next door to Monterey County. I don't know a lot about their tourism industry, only that I've heard in the past that people go there for longer term, and they also have a Silomar and some conference facilities that we don't have. Are we still trying to sort of wrest away some of that longer term stay and conferences and things? How would we do that? I know we didn't want a conference center on Lighthouse Field. That was pretty clear. But, is there some middle ground there that might
Santa Cruz County may not have all the meeting facilities that Monterey has, and Monterey has a far more established meetings business, and they do that because they have a tremendous amount more funding than Visit Santa Cruz County. They also have Rob O'Keefe, the CEO over there, and his staff are just stellar, and they know exactly what they're doing. But Monterey is obviously a different animal. People go to Monterey, and again, this is from the new guy, but people go to Monterey for food and culture, all the things we have here, but they've also got things like the aquarium, and they have a ton of meeting space. And so we're not going to steal away a lot of big meetings from Monterey, but what we can do is take a lot of their smaller meetings. We've got the Cruz Hotel coming up in a couple of years. We've got La Bahia that is supposed to open in May of 25, and we're super stoked about that in my organization because it's more meeting space. It's also a luxury property, which is very, very important to us. We would love to have a wide variety of lodging experiences for our guests to enjoy. And so as we get a few more hotels and as they're added on a sustainable level, we're always going to try to steal business from Monterey and from Santa Clara County because that's what we do. But having said that, we also work with I'm hugely close with the people at Team San Jose, with the people at C Monterey. I've been assisting San Benito County with forming their own tourism bureau. So one thing I love about the tourism and hospitality industry is that we do compete, but we do it in such a friendly way. And when the other person, give you an example, on my board, there is a couple of new hotels going on. You might think that the 13 hoteliers on my board would feel a sense of competition or fear at new hotels coming on. No, they're totally stoked to have that new hotel presence because they know that, first of all, the La Bahia will be a luxury property, so it will appeal to a certain demographic that we can bring to this. But at the same time, when those hotels fill up, it compresses the entire market. So if the Cruz and La Bahia and the Chaminade and the Dream Inn sell out, it's good for the rest of the hotels because they can get more rooms as well too. So it's a really synergistic way to look at it, but it seems to be the way it is here in Santa Cruz County. Everyone seems to champion their competitors.
That's nice to hear. So you mentioned the arts, which I'm fond of, and we're right down the street from the Tannery Arts Center, a huge potential draw. How do you market an area as being, a place to go see art? We're going to have open studios, unless I missed it.
Nope.
Did I miss it?
Nope.
We're about to have it. Sorry, I've been away. So that's been a big draw locally, but I'm wondering how you tell the world that, this is some happening arts community in terms of visual and performing arts.
Well, in all of our marketing efforts, in our social media efforts, in our blogs, we feature our 4 pillars, which I mentioned earlier, but interestingly enough, arts and culture and agriculture are our 2 strongest pillars. You might think coastal and redwoods, but pretty much it's agriculture and arts. And I really like that because, one, for me, I love the visual of agriculture. It speaks to my mind because everything's in a straight row. That's just, and it's colorful. I could look at farms and ranches all and enjoy them.
Well, you're in the right place. There's quite a lot of them around here.
But in arts and culture, we focus on artists. We focus on events, and when we do arts and culture in our social media, we get so much engagement, so much interest in what's going on. And in fact, I was at a meeting earlier today. Some of our people in the arts community are looking to form another arts festival or some sort of a marketing method to get more people to come, not just from outside the county, but for residents to come to things. So my organization is part of that, and we will always be there to champion the arts. Arts speaks to everybody. I don't know anybody that isn't touched by art. I myself make art. I have staff members that make art. It's just something that allows you to go outside yourself and feel like you're really, it's an escape, but it's also something that feeds you. And I think that even for those people that don't make art, they still feel that way about other people's art. And so it's really an easy draw to bring them here. And my social media team of Rachel and Jen are so strong on content. So there will be galleries, there will be, or they'll go to restaurants, or they'll go to events, and they'll take great content, videos and photography, and then put them with words, and they get so much engagement. An example recently is the Strawberry Festival. We did a content, put a post together, and our engagement still blows my mind. Your listener's not going to believe this, 2.9 million.
That's envious for most of us to get that many people.
It was incredible.
That's great. And I was aware of this conversation about getting a big festival going because Wallace Bain was on our airwaves recently on What a Week, talking about this idea that, throwing spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks. And of course, K-Squid would be excited to be part of that as well. We have a little one-day festival we do called Squid Fest West, and people thought we were selling calamari, but we're actually just playing great music and enjoying K-Squid people. But thank you for giving us this update. I've been speaking with Terrence Concannon. He is the new executive director, relatively new, the last year, which is new for Santa Cruz. Visit Santa Cruz, the local tourism organization. And I'd love for you to give me updates in the future. So please know that your long-term invitation is here.
Thank you. And it went by so fast, I can't believe we're already done, but I'd love to come back anytime you need me.
Got an open door.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks for coming by. This continues to be Talk of the Bay right here on K-Squid. We'll have a couple of announcements and be right back talking about the Rainbow Conference coming up soon in Santa Cruz.